Tourist Chapel. This is Don Pierson. Don counts behind the camera. Gordon is now to my right, and this is Friday's devotion, and we're at the Catlets farm. I'm going to continue this look at Christians and unbelievers, and really, I think what the whole issue or struggle is the idea of maintaining the sense of separation and holiness. Yesterday, I took you to Matthew 16, verse 6, mentioned Luke 12, verse 1, and I talked about the fact that we need to remember that Jesus warned his followers of the hypocrisy that self-righteousness brings. And self-righteousness is always rooted in something that you and I think we can do to improve that which God has. And that leads to a self-righteous attitude that becomes puffed up, arrogant, and it creates hypocrisy because we can't live up to what God has talked about. And so we looked at the idea of legalism, which I guarantee it, most of us struggle with it. Whether we do it in the true sense of the law or whether we get caught up in thinking that the way grandma and grandpa and great-grandma and grandpa or the way we used to did things is the only way to do things, which is a form of legalism as well. Today I want to take you to another, not so much a warning, but a reminder. When you're dealing with Christians and the lost, I think one of the first things you need to remember is you've got to remember the heart of God. You've got to remember the heart of God. And you've got to hold that in perspective. Let me read 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some count slackness, but he is long-suffering towards us. Why? He's not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. That is the heart of God. God's heart and will is that all come to repentance. So God has a heart towards the lost, so much so that God sent his Son. For God so loved the world. That would have been all lost at that time. There wouldn't have been any saved at that time. They were all lost. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. God's desire, according to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, is that he's not willing that any should perish. So he has gone to extra means to make that happen, make it that they don't perish. He did that by becoming man himself, as John chapter 1 would say. God became flesh and dwelt among us. He came, he walked, he went out of his way to find lost individuals like the Samaritan woman and others. He went seeking them. In Luke chapter 19, verse 10, it says that Jesus declares his message or purpose, and that was he came to seek and to save that which was lost. As a Christian, as a follower of Christ, the same calling, the same heart that Jesus has should be ours. We are not to isolate ourselves so much from lost people that we cannot be light and salt in their life to influence their lives. We must take some risks. Those risks, well, they were very well known to Jesus, and they brought his death, which was also part of his plan. I understand that. But lost people don't always treat you the way you would like for them. But by the way, let me remind you that it was mainly the religious that led the war against Jesus, and there always will be that way. But the point is, in understanding this relationship that we are to have as believers with the lost, we need to do the first reminder, and that is not be caught up in self-righteousness and hypocrisy that comes from some kind of law within ourselves. But we also must remember the heart of God, and that is that He's not willing that any should perish. And if we have that same kind of heart, we will move in the direction of lost people. Love you, Steers Chapel.